I don't know how to explain this water treatment plant and how it's going to refrigerate the water that goes in
That thing.
for the fish, the salmon. They're looking at like,
Yeah, that's fine.
salmon, is salmon? No, it's not.
That's the best part.
I did see two river otters in there one day.
Really?
Yeah, I think they were lost.
Probably trying to find himself to a better.
They weren't mutated.
No, they didn't have two heads or three things or
Nutrient.
anything.
Get the nutrient out of there when you get,
I'm actually surprised there aren't more like beavers or otter,
I
not otters.
pulled a beaver out of, our polishing clarifier, after a storm one day. He was kind of stuck.
No.
No, oh, yeah, he'd been in there a couple of days. I'm thinking he just in here because it's nicer water than what's in there. But then I found out he couldn't get out. So I invented what's called a duck ladder because we get ducks with babies in there almost every year. I just take a 2x10 that's 8 foot long, flop it in there and they just walk right out.
That's smart. All right, I say we go ahead and call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock on my clock. And the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everyone, welcome to our March City Council session. We have a packed house here today, I can see. Before we move on, councilors, are there any agenda topics? There's only two. A consent agenda you'd like to hold out for regular discussion? Communications. Okay, then we're good on that one. Consent agenda shall stay the same. The first one is calendar of ordinances, City of Administrator Sean Wade on this one.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. A case of Fields versus City of Newport that revolves around a plaintiff who slipped and fell on a wooden bridge on Newport's Ocean to Bay Trail, in which the case was initially dismissed. However, it was brought before the Oregon Court of Appeals, and the case was reversed and remanded. CIS determined that the ruling ended recreational immunity and requested that local governments close certain trails to avoid lawsuits. Instead of closing trails or pathways in our parks, staff has drafted this ordinance, which adopts the limitation of liability per Oregon statute. So this does provide some protection for us and allows us to keep, even the trail around Barnsley Park open. In addition, this is on the legislature's agenda to revisit and draft language so that we can get recreational immunity back under law. But this is the temporary ordinance to cover the city of Covered.
Before we move on, is there any questions from council on this topic?
Unless this gets challenged, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then with that, I'm going to go ahead and read it out, and then we have the motion by read only. I'll go ahead and first read it out. The ordinance number 3862024, an ordinance amending the Hubbard Municipal Code to add section number 12.05.025, limitations of liability for certain claims arising from the use of trails or structures within public easements and unimproved right-of-ways under ORS 105.668.
Make a motion to read by title only for first reading.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to read by title. Ordinance number 3862024, an ordinance amending the Hubbard Municipal Code to add section number 12.05.025, limitations of liability for certain claims arising from the use of trails or structures within public easements and unimproved right-of-ways under ORS 105.668.
Motion to read by title only, for second reading.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and second again. Ordinance number 3862024, an ordinance amending the Hubbard Municipal Code to add section number 12.05.025, limitations of liability for certain claims arising from the use of trails or structures within public easements and unimproved right-of-ways under ORS 105.668.
Make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I need a second.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the ordinance and a second at a race condition. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay, ordinance will carry. Thank you. And for our one audience member on that one, that's just to make it a little bit easier so we don't have to dig into it. Okay, with that, let's go on to number 3, proposed dog park and grant application. Again, Administrator Witt.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Council is being asked to approve multiple things within the staff report. Part of this, request that's moving forward is because of timing of a grant application. But first, the first thing that we are asking council to consider is to direct staff to begin gathering cost estimates and conduct community outreach on the proposed dog park location. Second, to approve staff to apply for the State of Oregon Parks and Recreation Grant. And third, to authorize the mayor to sign the resolution. So a little background, for several years, the community has been requesting that the city identify an area for a dog park, as stated in the 2007 Parks Master Plan as well. Staff has evaluated several locations within the city with the following considerations in mind. One, cost of creating the park, so infrastructure as it relates to the doggy bag stations, the fencing, any other amenities that we put in the park. Also, we're considering parking lots, sidewalks, and access to the park. Also, safety, so to make sure that community members that are there with their pets and then community members that are just in the area are all kept safe. Then we also looked at what the maintenance would be and what would be the easiest location to provide maintenance. And looking at areas that don't get too wet, and stuff like that, that can tear up the grass. So the west end of Wolferville Greenway has been identified as the most effective and community-friendly area for a dog park. There is an existing parking lot and sidewalk that would lead to the park. Staff would ensure that fencing would be placed far enough away from Veterans Memorial and the road to ensure safety for community members and their pets and the memorial. And then the Parks and Recreation Department announced that there's a recreational grant opportunity that's funded through state lottery dollars. And the intent would be to apply for playground equipment to replace outdated equipment at Revenant. And then also purchase the fencing material for the dog park. Both of these projects fit under the guidelines of the grant. The only thing that we would have to do is provide a 20% match. Part of that can be in-kind services, so it can be staff labor, but there would be some cash upfront required. We don't know what that is yet because we don't have all the cost estimates. And that's why we're asking council to direct staff to start research on getting those cost estimates, but at the same time, not miss out on a grant opportunity through Parks and Recreation. And then we would be back to council for, if we get awarded the grant, for more information about what the in-kind match is going to be, what the cash out of pocket requirement for the city is, and then approval of the grant funds.
Okay, with that, questions from council. We'll go around. Councilor Young.
Well, I do have some concerns about the west end of the Greenway there, and I understand it tends to be a little underused area. I will admit that up front. I kind of go back to, if we're going to make these changes, we definitely would want to get input from the surrounding community right in there on 9th Street and C Street over there, at least the properties that abut that area. There's probably a half a dozen or so minimum. Maybe we need to kind of just canvass the street residences on both sides of that area. That's what I would recommend. And then somebody pulling into it's a parking lot for the memorial there. It's the parking lot we're talking about. I guess there is some on-street parking down there, but a number of people want to pull in there. And there's not a lot of traffic. So 6 spots, and one of them's a handicap spot. And I mean, not a lot of people park there, but you know, the dog jumps out of the car and goes over and raises a leg at the nearest, structure. And the opposites of that, I just, would disturb me quite a bit. And then my last point, and although we don't get a lot of snow down here, but I've seen up to 24 kids sliding on that hill at the far end down there on west side of Wolfville. I mean, it's just, it is one of those things. It's a community, thing that there's just some kid magnet and they all bring out their sleds and they're sliding down the hill. Admittedly, that only happens about once every third year, but it is quite a community event when that happens. So I'm just kind of putting those out there for lines of thought. I don't know what other areas have been considered at this point, but, yeah, I think at a minimum, we really need to get the community input from that. So that's my discussion on that.
Okay, Councilor Shank.
As far as like resources, will we be looking at adding a bathroom or is that not required for a dog park?
Mayor, council, that's actually not required for a dog park. The research that I have done with other communities that have already established dog parks, some that are just brand new and some that have been there a while. There are a few that have porta potties, but not very many. And most of the dog parks, just have basic, large amounts of grass. So this is one of the larger areas that we could locate within our city limits to use. And also keep it safe. So one thing we did look at was the green space area by the railroad tracks. And the feedback that I got from other communities is you do not want to do that with the railroad and the train coming through. It can actually be very disturbing to dogs and increases fighting. So that was one reason why we kind of looked at that location, but we don't have to have restrooms there.
I definitely would love to see a dog park brought into town. So I think we should pursue the money for sure.
Councilor Thomas.
How big are we planning the space to be? Do we know, or just an estimate maybe?
So we, kind of mapped it out and it's linear feet, approximately 450 feet. And it ends on the two trees that are closest to the right of way before you get into the memorial area.
Okay.
About a third of an acre.
It's a sufficient size, I would imagine. Okay.
And the perimeter fence of the dog park would be proposed to be approximately 6 feet off of the existing fences that are on that end as well. So crew can get in to maintain those areas and all that. So.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it. I do agree with the other counselors that we should probably check in with those neighbors there just to make sure that everybody's good with it. And then I would just propose to, if we move forward with it, that we put up signage, dogs need to be on a leash when they're not, when they're outside of there, so that we don't have dogs running around. That would be something I want to make sure we do. Other than that, I'm in favor.
Councilor Archer.
Well, living over there, we have a lot of dogs that walk on blue right past three of our houses and I proposed that was a great place during the meeting that we had on the 28th because of the proximity to the big sidewalk, the safety of the area, the new lighting that was put up here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I'm totally in favor of it. I'm not a dog person, but most of the dogs that I've seen come through our neighborhoods are very respectful on leashes and they're friendly. And I think it's, if you need to use the restroom, it's two blocks up there. So.
I will say this from the community I've engaged with, they also want a dog park. It seems to be the top of everyone's list. Okay, so this right now, though, is just a discussion. We have consent agenda, at least moving forward on applying for the grant. Or do you want us to go ahead and vote on this one as well?
Yeah, so there is a resolution that's attached. We are required to have a signed resolution. So as part of the request is for council to authorize the mayor to sign the resolution so we can move forward with applying for the grant.
Option A.
Yeah.
Where do you see option A?
Bad.
B.
It's not from-
Oh, I'm just looking at the memo.
Okay. Option B, there you go. You're 2 steps ahead with that. Okay, can we go ahead and get a motion?
Make a motion that we adopt resolution number 772-2024. Resolution confirming the city of Hubbard's intent to apply for the local government grant program to the Oregon Park and Recreation Department for monies to be used for the Wolferville Greenway Dog Park fencing project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. So that will be recorded as 4 yeas, 1 nay. Okay, with that, move on to the appointment of the budget committee members. Did we miss something before we move on? You good? Okay. Okay, appointment of the budget committee members. So we actually had, what, 6 applicants put in applications for the budget committee. We have 3 open seats. I'll kick off my discussion on this one, I guess. I went through all applicants, all of them, I mean, quite a few of them very well qualified. If I was to select real quick, I would be selecting Olivia Conte. I would nominate John Nash, and I would nominate Joni Watcher. I hope I'm saying her last name correctly. Wacker. Got it, all right. Okay. So discussions going around, Councilor Aldrich.
That we're reviewing them based upon residency and, person's, statements. Those were the same 3 I came up with, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Todd or Charles?
I agree. I think the top 2 for me were, Mr. Nash and Ms. Walker.
Wonderful. Councilor Stein?
I was really happy to see so many applications. And I agree with the same choice. I think those are 3 very good candidates.
Councilor Younger?
Yeah. And 2 of them on the same list as you, was Olivia Conte.
Yep.
Which I, yeah, ton of experience and great stuff there. Johnny Wachter, worked with her previously, actually not directly. She was on the Hubbard Parks and Coolant Committee for a while. And working while she was there with them, she did a good job. Thank you. And I would definitely be in favor of her, works on the planning and budget committee. And I was looking, it's kind of a toss-up between the other 3. I don't have any difficulty with John Nash. I was looking at Patrick Zaki.
Yep.
Let's look at his as well. So,
Both of them were very impressive.
yeah. And again, I'm really impressed by the number that we got in this time. Very happy with having a good white selection. So. But I don't have any problem with John. Actually, it's like he's a good candidate. He's interesting deciphering it. Yeah, dark background.
Out of curiosity, I'm not 100% sure on everyone's face, but is Patrick or John in attendance? Okay, I was just gonna have them, if they were here, otherwise I would. Again, what I tried to differentiate on was residency experience at that point in time. And those are the 3 that popped out most to me. So I guess if there's not much more discussion on that one.
I make a motion that we, put in the 3 that we discussed.
Go ahead.
You need to appoint them to whichever terms, because you have one, there's 1 term, and then the other 2 are the other,
Yep.
another term.
So why don't I do it this way? I would like to make a motion, we'll do it one at a time. For vacated position from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2025, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Olivia Conte.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor for this appointment, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Okay, for the 2 additional positions, I would like to make a motion
to appoint for the terms January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2026. John Nash and Joni Wacker.
A second.
Oh, sorry. My bad, you're quick. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, then that carries. Director Noble, will that work for you on how we do the last two?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. With that, next one, 5, discussion regarding revenue options, and I will turn this over to City Administrator Wade.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The 5-year financial forecast was presented at the February 13th, City Council meeting. City Council directed staff to prepare revenue options for consideration. Staff received some input from the council as to some options to research, as well as reaching out to other cities to explore revenue options. I have a summary that I will go over fairly quickly, but it's a little more detailed within my staff report. And again, some of these I'm gonna have to do some additional research if directed by council. So the first one is a local improvement district. This method is a financing option in which a group of property owners can share the cost of infrastructure improvements and finance it for 20 years at an interest rate of approximately, the going rate right now is 3.5%. This would improve city infrastructure with a return on investment. If directed by council, staff would need to do some additional research about how to implement this program. I'm unsure if this is required for voters or not, or if council can do this by resolution. So that's something I need to look into. And so Mayor, Council, I'm not sure how you want to approach this as I go through each topic. Do you want to take time in case there's
I think it
discussion?
might be that way, might be the best, so we don't break it up and have to go back and rebound it. We talked about the local improvement districts before, especially for Third Street. And quite honestly, I don't think that's one of the better ways to try to finance an overall redevelopment of the downtown area. My only concern on that one is I don't think it would be much of a help for us in the near term, though, for our budget shortfall, for lack of a better term. The only reason I believe it has to be focused on improvements we designate for that zone, I'm assuming. And on top of that, correct me if I'm wrong, but the property tax, whatever grows from there is what we're allowed to gain from it until it's paid off. And then somehow, my concern is, I'm not sure how much it's gonna provide for the
So-
short term.
Short term, well, go ahead, I'm sorry, Councilor.
Well, there's enterprise zones that does that where they don't get taxed on the first couple of years. But local improvement districts should be able to, you know, if we had $125,000 designated an area of street repair, that money could be reallocated if we have a local improvement cover the cost.
So we can do that? Okay.
Yes.
Do we need to designate the local area though? Because it
Yeah.
can't be just citywide.
No.
Right.
Yeah, I think the way we've handled it in the past is when we're putting in some sidewalks, on the opposite, well, we widened the street, there were some sidewalks we haven't covered. If I remember right, was that what we're doing, the sidewalks? Maybe that LID.
Yes.
And basically it was the property owners that were adjacent to that sidewalk. And, depending upon, I think it was their footage, how much each percentage of them, there were 3 residences, pieces of property that adjacent to that sidewalk. And each one had to pay that portion of the sidewalk. We didn't charge them any interest. We just gave them an interest-free loan for, I think, 5 years, 10 years, something like that, which they had to pay back within that time frame. We made them recommendations on how much a month, how much a year to pay. They could pay it all up front or wait till the end of the time frame and pay it all in one chunk at the end. But that was how we structured it previously. Now, we can structure it however we want to structure it in the future. Within, I'm sure there's certain legal guidelines we have to structure it within.
So this is a good option at the end of the day. That's what I'm hearing. The question would be, is there a specific district or area that we're looking at to do those type of improvements?
And when we go out and get these grants for sidewalks and stuff like that, well, this might be a way to, move more quickly.
Oh, very much so. It made Fifth Street look tremendously different. Huge improvement.
So mayor and council, looking at this option, so the upfront money would need to be taken out of our beginning fund balance. So whatever council decides is the policy decision, that they're gonna take some of that beginning fund balance in the end. And we'll have to structure it as far as when repayment starts. What I'm finding, most entities that have implemented this, they also will place a lien on the property. I don't know if that's the direction that we want to go. Again, that's a policy decision. So there's a lot more details that kind of need to be ironed out in this. And if directed by council, I'll do some additional research and bring that back to council.
I think my question on this one, it's a great idea. I saw what I can do on Fifth Street. Now I know exactly what we're talking about. My question, I guess, back to Public Works on this one, Administrator Wake might be, is there a specific section of town you think that this should be applied to? Is there a specific area that we need to do this improvement for stormwater retention, whatever it might be?
So I will start out and then I'll defer back to Public Works. The thing that I'm hearing about, especially Third Street, is if we could get into some sort of public-private partnership where we could help out with stormwater. And this program was actually discussed in some of those conversations, that would make it more feasible for people to start developing that area.
So you're looking at basically a Third Street type redevelopment. If you will.
Well, we can have multiple districts too. It's not just one. So I will defer now to Public Works.
I agree with Administrator Wade on this one. I think Third Street would be our best bet at this point. Because it would enhance economic development, be able to do those lots that are open, and also we'll be able to take care of some of the problems we have in the adjoining streets, like the corner over there by the bar on Fourth and I think that's F.
Fourth and F. So with the question to you, I mean, even though it would impact me, do we expand it to be a Third and Fourth Street? So you have basically that as a district?
I'd say yes.
I mean, it allows us to shoulder the cost amongst a lot more, even though I'm in that area, but still, I like to see that area improved. The problem would be great to be fixed. But, okay, I think this is a great one, by the way.
It would have to be bare bones. I mean, you can't put in there months of staff time. If people think all the money's going to
Planning.
yeah, that type of thing. It have to be like boots on the ground, you see what you get.
So I think on this one, what you're hearing is there's interest. I think what we need to know is what we would like to try to do and improve.
Okay, and then also the process of implementation. So I will.
How to do it, right? And
Yeah.
hopefully better than we did on Fifth Street. I know Fifth Street, there was quite a lot of contention around how that was handled as well, so.
I do think that, I need some direction from council as far as do you want me to develop different options? One that doesn't include an interest rate for repayment, one that does, and look at some different interest rates. Right now, the going rate's between 3% and 4%. But again, I don't know if that's something that you want to charge somebody developing.
Why don't we see what you come up with first? I guess my suggestion would be, if you can, come back with a few options on how we can handle it. That allows us to at least try to see if any of them will fit. If we feel in the meantime that something might be better, one of us stumble across something, we can bring it up as a suggestion as well. I think it's a great opportunity to get Third Street redone.
Okay, thank you. The next revenue option that I looked at was alcohol tax, and concluding a conversation with the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, the city would need to implement a sales tax to earn any extra revenue on the sale of alcohol. Currently, the city does receive a portion of the excise tax that the federal government and state government have collected, but to increase any other revenue, we would have to implement a sales tax. We would have the flexibility to say, basically, it's a spend sales tax. So it wouldn't be necessarily saying we're taxing all food or anything like that. But again, that has to go to the voters.
It's an interesting one, but I did write down a question on like how much alcohol do we actually sell in the city limits?
And they couldn't tell me that, although they could stay on state average, while cigarette, tax is going down because more and more people are quitting smoking. Alcohol is exponential, growing. So hopefully, not much in Hubbard, though.
Well, hate to say it, I mean, I'm a fan of sin tax, whether cigarettes, alcohol, or marijuana at the end of the day. I think this is fine. I don't think you're gonna get much revenue from it, quite honestly, but it's worth investigating.
So, and
Anyone disagree, by the way, on council?
I'm against it. I wouldn't invest a lot of time in this one, because I don't think it'll drive a lot of revenue. And two, I think it will just make a lot of people mad.
And that's what I just don't know if it's gonna drive much revenue, but Councilor Rogers?
50-50 for a small town stop off on the way to Champlain Park, wherever anybody goes.
Councilor Young?
the question I had is, when we do the sales tax, is it a targeted sales tax? So when we see on all alcohol sales in town, or does it have to be a general sales tax on, everything that's sold in Hubbard or all food products sold in Hubbard? So can we target that? Then, okay, we can.
Yeah, she just mentioned it's just alcohol, not food. Councilor Steiner?
I would definitely probably avoid this one, just because I don't want to give anybody else a reason not to shop in town. And if we have the only sales tax in the area on stuff that people are buying, it's just gonna push people to Woodburn. It's too close. So,
What I'm hearing here is a 50-50 and no and a no and a, I don't even know revenue out of it. I would probably just not waste time on it.
Well, this would require voter approval,
Yeah.
so.
About an 18-month process.
Yeah.
Again, I agree with Councilor Thomas. At the end of the day, what's the revenue? What's the ROI time spent on this?
If we were going to the voters for something else, and that could be added to it, that's another, I would consider looking at that, so what the voters told us.
Yeah. But at this point in time, I don't think we are, so.
If that's the only thing on our ballot.
Okay, the next one's kind of a big discussion, operations and public safety levy. So the assessor's office reported that the average residential assessed value of the property is $196,170. The city could receive approximately $334,686 annually if a $1.20 cent per thousand was assessed, which means property tax would increase on an average of $235 annually for a taxpayer. This option would require taxpayer approval as well by voters. Again, want to caution council on this one. So I had conversations with the fire chief with the Hubbard Fire District, and they currently have an active levy. It expires in 1.5 years and they will be going back out. That would be about the same time that we go out. I had talked about what does it look like to have a public safety levy where we have law enforcement and fire service. And actually, if we combine what they need with what we need to be sustainable, it raises what people pay by, we'd ask for about $2.20. So it's a pretty significant increase, and taxes would go up to about $500 more a year for property tax payers. So that is something that just wanted to kind of keep in the back of your mind, that there would be some competition if we did not join together with the fire department.
This one concerns me only on if we were to combine, well, hey, number one, at $1.20, I think we'd already lose. Anything over $1 typically will get voted down. It's the psychological thing, 99 cents versus $1. I had the same conversation with our prior fire chief on that one, the last one. I mentioned that they were shooting too high. Combining them, though, I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's also too expensive. Even at $2, I think it'll get shot down. Going out separately, I don't know, might be an opportunity. I do think, Hubbard is unique, and I will say that much. We have our own police department. That's very, very unique, especially in the Northern Atlantic Valley. And I know it's very expensive to have said fire, or not fire, but police department. And we need to find a means to be able to increase officer pay, to retain officers, good talent. So I think in the long run, we will have to look at some sort of a police levy, safety levy, whatever we want to call it. But it's bad timing if we're right on top of the fire district. I think we need to look at this. I truly do. I hate raising taxes at the end of the day, but I think we need to somehow support the police department more and stop losing officers. And maintain that uniqueness that we have. Other thoughts? Oh, by the way, one last thought is we at least don't have to worry about the school district. They're not going up for any bonds anytime soon. Yeah. Councilor Young, any thoughts on this one?
I know we need to generate, revenue sooner than later, but my thought would be, well, let's delay one cycle. You know, so that way they're not getting hit with two levies at the same time. You know, just delay one cycle. They can look at this again, next year or in 6 months. It's an 18-month time frame. That would be one, thought that I would have. And, or, you know, like I said, the $1.20, let's see what's the dollar. I know that's not gonna generate quite as much, but I mean, that gets us partly.
It's a psychological thing, $1 versus 99 cents.
But again, if we can, you know, offset from the fire district, that would probably be good for both of us. So they are going out, we're going out, and for a long time I was a no, but increase my taxes, no. And then after a while I started thinking, we'll start looking at issues, but I know a lot of no voters. They just, can I increase my taxes? No.
Councilor Steiner?
Sort of along that same line, I do appreciate the opportunity for people to make the decision. So that's where I think going to cover some of the expenses with a levy, I would prefer than just having to find money elsewhere. Even if we were to drop it to 97 cents and give it a discounted closeout price. But
Accidental.
I think we should look at some kind of a levy, if 97 cents or $1.20. I do like the idea of not going the exact same time as the fire department, giving them a chance to, because they live off their levies. Like, that's where they get their income. So if we could do it a following election, I think that would be beneficial for the town overall.
Councilor Thomas?
Yeah, I don't think we should compete against fire department. We know they'll be out for a levy because they'll be here, and then we don't see them for 3 years, and then we see them when they want money. They want money for their dorm and they show up, so I don't know where they're at, but they're not here, so. I wouldn't compete against them, but certainly am in favor of, you know, the public services, law enforcement and fire. We're gonna have to do it. I don't think we're gonna have a choice. It's just the timing, so I would agree with you.
Councilor Rogers?
I don't know if we can wait 2.5 years, but first off, I want to know where does it says value under $200,000 in the zero? Because unless you're taking in all the manufactured home parks, I don't understand. To me, that seems very low.
Yeah, this came directly from the tax assessor's office, so I thought it seemed low too, but they said that is the average for coverage.
Wow. So I think that the rest of us would be paying a lot more than $235 a year. I think most of us would be paying closer to 400. Yeah. But you know, every year is different, and some people have different feelings about the fire department. And what if they don't pass their levy the first time or the second time? Then they're up against us second time or the third time. So I would rather as a person not that I want to go up against anybody, but I think we have a strong case for where we're at, and it's not going to be surprising to anybody that we are not keeping up with inflation in our city service.
So with a mixed message from council for Mr. Wade, why don't we try to look at it two ways here? I think you're hearing consensus to move forward on this. If you could come back with a suggestion on two options, one, if we were to delay, and two, if we were to go simultaneously. The other option would be also, we don't wait for another general election, but we get in the May ballot. You don't have to wait an entire year, you can wait 6 months.
But don't you have to have at least 51% of the voters on the May one to pass anything?
So it'd be easier on a major election.
No, if only 30% of the voters came out, even though they were all in favor, it would pass.
Just you have to wait for the major election.
Yes.
Okay, could you prepare that, though? I think you're hearing there is consensus that we need to do this path, we need to go down this path. The question at this point is timing. And maybe if we can coordinate a campaign with the fire district, we can go out with a dual, separate, but dual vote yes on this type of that campaign. Just get a pack together to drive it, do door to door.
Okay.
And I do know people that will do that.
All right, thank you. So the next one, I would actually just recommend as basic operations, we go ahead and look at implementation. So alarm permits require any residential and commercial burglar or robbery alarm that summons police to any building or premises to obtain an alarm permit. The annual permit fee would be $20 for residential, $50 for commercial, and free for seniors. And also adopt a false alarm response fee as outlined in my staff report, and we'll go through each line item. It would generate about $3,500 annually, and while that's not a significant source of revenue, it is a process that's already implemented in many cities. And in looking at some of our response and our calls, we get called out on false alarms frequently. So if it's a true active alarm and there's a burglary or whatever, a break-in, definitely there's no charge as far as a false alarm call. But there's a couple of businesses that are frequent that we're responding to, and that means our officers are called dealing with that and maybe not something else. So that's just staff recommendation for council's consideration.
From Councilor Aldrich, thoughts?
I'm in total agreement for this one.
Councilor Thomas,
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Councilor Steinle,
I'm surprised we don't already have it, so. I'm all for it.
Councilor Young.
I'm in favor of it.
Gee whiz, I am not gonna be the only one, just kidding.
So we will need to come back with a resolution for approval, so
That makes
we'll work on that for next council meeting. The next one is the transient lodging tax. I'll just be honest that we've had a few rooms that have been rented as Airbnb. There are two rooms at Whiskey Hill that fall within the city of Hubbard address area, so we are allowed to charge that transient lodging tax. That's really about it for Hubbard. We really need some sort of like hotel or something like that to make any sort of revenue impact. I get a little hesitant from a staff recommendation to move forward on something like this from the standpoint Whiskey Hill, they're a great little store. They're, trying to build their business. And I think adding another tax rate now would be a struggle.
This is another one of those, I just question the ROI on staff time doing.
Oh, it'd be so small.
Yeah,
It costs us more, actually.
If we were like a Dundee, we're like a wine tourism, like Mecca, where everyone wants to stay, I can see it. I just don't see us having the facilities to tax anything. That's my personal opinion. Councilor Aldrich,
If it's not feasible, then we should.
Councilor Thomas,
Yeah, I would pass on.
Daniel,
I don't think it's worth the time.
Councilor Young.
Not worth the time.
Okay, I think you'll scratch that one off for now.
The next one, gas tax. So staff received some information from ODOT regarding the number of gallons of gas that were sold by the two gas stations located within the city limits. That is included in my staff report as well, year over year average for, each type of fuel. If a 3-cent gas tax was implemented, the estimated annual revenue would be $132,814. And again, this option would require voter approval. In talking to some of my peer groups and also cities that have passed this, the gas tax will go specifically to roads and sidewalks and that type sort of infrastructure. In cities that have put this forward to voters, it unanimously gets approved. So just something for consideration.
Well, I think you've heard this council say many times over that we believe in sidewalks and fixing potholes. With that in mind, though, Councilor Youngman?
Yeah, I was, and I see our volume of fuel increasing every year, which is good. I know there's,
It's going less.
well, and they started 2019 total was 2,830,000, and by 2023 it's 4,427,000.
There you go.
So it looks like it's grown. Third anyway. And which is kind of surprising because with the electric vehicles out there, or hybrids, overall, the state themselves, I was watching the news the other night, they were talking about the total mile driven and the state revenue decreasing on fuel, on gasoline tax, diesel tax. I mean, if this is going to increase our revenue, I think that would be something we would look to pursue. I don't know how long it would be, how many years it would be viable as we shift to do more EV type transportation. So, but yeah, that's something I'd be interested in pursuing. That it covers, about a third of our shortfall right now anyway. So, that's my opinion on that.
Councilor Steinberg?
I don't know if it's gonna be something we're gonna be putting on the ballot at the same time as a bunch of other stuff. I don't know if we wanna be asking for a lot of money all at the same time. I know my son usually fills up in town because it's cheaper than most places he drives. So I think our price is low enough, it wouldn't probably chase people away, but, I don't know. I drive a Tesla, so it doesn't really apply to me. Personally.
Councilor Thomas?
I actually would say the opposite, just from where I get gas, if you go one direction or the other a little ways, gas can be significantly cheaper. So my worry would be, we're already more expensive than places that are nearby. So what would 3 more cents do? Would that decrease revenue and then hurt the businesses in town? I mean, I would be in favor of it, but I would say, what's on the other side of it? That'd be my only concern.
Councilor Harvey?
I think with the knowledge that the money goes to a specific entity, roads, sidewalks, I would be in favor.
The way I look at it, I'd rather see a gas tax than another increase on the fees for sidewalk repairs or whatever you do through the water bill. So I think generally you're hearing a lot of yeses up there to say it would be something we'd be interested in pursuing.
Okay, the next one, general services or public service fee, so changing the utility billing from every other month to monthly. And then the general services fee that the city normally charges is $20 every other month, would turn into $20 every month. The annual revenue for this increase would generate approximately $137,135 after expenses, and would increase what utility customers pay annually by $120. This can be implemented through resolution. However, we would ask that we have time to do community outreach and help the community understand the change and what's happening. And also discussion on, do we want to call this a general services fee increase? Or do we want to call this, a new fee associated with public safety? And then that revenue goes directly to the police department.
So we're opposite way. Counselor Aldrich,
Would be the easiest and quickest option. And I would believe for public service reasons, it would be more feasible for the public to buy into. But knowing that it's going to particularly the police department.
Okay.
So I think that
Counselor Jones?
Yeah, I agree for the same reasons, call it the public safety fee. People are very pro-police. We saw that a few years ago here in town. I'm in favor of it. I think we should do it as soon as possible.
Counselor Steiner?
Yeah, I honestly really like the idea of going every month. I get so lost on which month my water bills due. And I know I'm just bad at keeping track, but I think that every month water bill would be way easier for me, so I'm all for it. And I thought it was a double fee, but even if it's just 10, that's fine.
And Counselor Young?
I'm kind of on the fence on this one, other than it's the easiest, quickest way to get the revenue in the city coffers. I was not on city council when the last one was instituted, but there was quite a community misunderstanding about what it was all about. And so we definitely want to inform the city of what is needed for, why it is there. I emphasize this greatly. I won't say that the torches and the riots were happening, but boy, did I get, and I wasn't even on council when it's passed. I would have been on council previously and after that, but boy, did I get my ear chewed off for doing that. Every time I mean, down at the post office, down at the inn, down at the restaurant. Like I said, I wasn't even part of that last time, although I told people I did not disagree with it because it was needed. And so just be aware that we need to really inform the public. We also need to make sure that there were the two options, the income option where we can forgive a portion of the bill for the people that are low income, and also the money that we put money into for the trying to think of one of the insurance involved.
So we have a
Love it.
couple, yeah,
Make sure that they're aware of both those programs. Love it is the other one. And so, so that way that they are aware that if they are having difficulties, there are other options for them to assist them in paying their bills. So again, I would probably vote for it, but again, we need to make sure we do a really, really, really good outreach.
Question for city staff on this one. If we went to monthly, what's the cost for us to send bills out every month as opposed to every other?
so I actually didn't bring that with me right offhand. But the 137,000 is after those costs to mail them out. But, and I can follow up with that in my weekly update to council about how much that actual cost is.
I mean, I could turn around and look at a plus on doing a monthly bill is if someone does have a water leak, like I know someone did the other day, they would know about it sooner rather than 2 months later where the big bill shows up. So.
Exactly. And to follow up with Councilor Youngley, so we do have assistance through Love Inc. And then we also partnered with City of Woodburn and applied for a utilities rent and mortgage assistance grant with Business Oregon, and we're awarded that. So there's that option as well.
Yeah, so
Okay, so based off of that, what I've written down then on my notes here, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, as we go through these, a possible local improvement district was a yes for following through on that one. It was a no on the alcohol. So it was a yes on the operational safety levy future in the future to move forward, and at least investigate that one. It was a yes on the alarm permit. It was a no on the transit lodging pot tax. It was an NA on the marijuana tax. A yes on the gas tax, and then a yes on the general service public fee with a change utility billing to every other month. Did I miss something on that? Does anyone remember? Okay, then, do you need a motion from us to move forward on this?
No, so we will be back with, resolutions for the ones that council has authority. And then I'll also be back with the additional research and options.
So before we move away from this topic, can you ask comments from council?
Anybody else has any other thoughts about driving some sort of revenue? Maybe we tax every train car.
Remember every time the railroad track crossing comes down wrong?
We need to make sure that we get them to city staff.
Quite honestly, I was impressed with the list that was provided. I think it was pretty darn inclusive.
Well, thank you, Councilor Aldrich.
Who's flashing now?
I hate talking about tax.
I know.
This isn't
I
fun.
do too.
I have tried to do some community outreach, at least those who I've spoken to, and I'd let them know that we are facing times right now where our revenue is quickly, it is not keeping up with inflation and the costs. So I would encourage the rest of council, whoever you're interacting with, let them know just the reality of it. Okay, if there's no additional topics on that one, and if I can find my agenda, we will move on to appearance of interested citizens. That would be number 6.
Not too sure what 262 in that place, Robert. So, you guys did a lot of it, so I'm gonna try to stay under 3 minutes, but there's a lot of concerns I have. And as a resident and a taxpayer, I've been here 7 years. One is, I was on the budget committee last term, and you guys looked over me like, let's go with these people. So, I'm in favor of a couple of your selections on the budget committee, but I'm not in favor of one of them. Because I believe it's a risk by having that person on the budget committee. Another thing is, I have a huge concern. You guys are talking about the dog park over by the Marion Carlo Veterans Center, right, park? And you said we have 6 parking spots, right? But what if for all the people visiting the veteran site, and when they're trying to be peace, giving tribute to their loved ones, and then they're getting interrupted by dogs and stuff, you know what I mean? I think those parking spots should be for our vets and their families, for one. And I think there's a million other places where we could put a dog park. It doesn't need to be next to our veterans park. That's my feelings on that. And another thing is on the monthly bill thing, Mayor Rossville, Councilor Thomas, Councilor Aldrich, Simon, and Nunley. Another concern is with the monthly water bill, which I'm for it if everything worked. It's like going out and buy a brand new vehicle and you got it in the shop every month. I mean, we can't even figure out our water situation with our pressures and everything else in the orange water. So whenever we have issues with our water, you could charge the community more money when we don't even have our problems worked out, our kinks in our water system and our pressures. That's not fair. I feel we can, there's other methods of improvements that we could add to, other than using sources that don't even work and charging our, and about our people that, low income families and stuff. I mean, Love Inc.'s not gonna be able to help everybody in our community. Let's focus on our sidewalks on 3rd Street, right? It's dark there, right? We have sidewalks all the way up to 3rd Street and it stops. What about all of us people that live around 3rd Street that we can't even walk our kids or our dogs without worrying about somebody not paying attention and they're already speeding down 3rd Street? What if somebody gets hit? I think that's where our real concern should be, other than stuff that, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? And if it's broke, we need to fix it. And the water thing, we need to fix it. We've been having issues with the water ever since I moved here now 7 years ago. And you already jacked up our water bill, and you're talking about jacking it up again, and then with PG going up, like so much percent, and all that other stuff. So I'm all for your selection on Mr. Nash. And I don't know that Johnny walks your person, but I'm not in favor of Olivia Conti, I'm sorry. That's a bad
Call a
decision.
point of order, Mr. Sherwood has 3 minutes.
Yeah, I agree.
But you gave us,
Thank you, Rocky.
hope you go and find your task force, it's coming.
Hi, I'm Jake Ramirez. Just on the water bill, I just want to say that, I was gonna talk to community garden, is if they can just improve on that, how it's mailed out, I guess, or I pay it online. All I have, what I ever had is, I have like business up in Newburgh and Dundee, so my mail goes to Dundee. And so by the time I get that, and bring it back and write a check, I would usually be late. So I do like the online express pay.
Okay, you
I
like
was
that?
just saying, for some people that they pay for other people's stuff here, it's not a good time frame. Like they, I don't know how much is now, but 10 days wasn't, for some people, when it's by it mails to California and then mail check, it's just not. So it can be late. That's all I was saying.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Like I said, I'm Joe Ramirez. I was doing the community garden last year. I know we got a late start last year because we didn't start till June. And I wanted to come and talk and just go over a timeline and see how everyone was doing on that. And so I had a few things to go over. Just real quick, I was just gonna let you know, some of my background was, I grew up in Dundee, Newburgh farming, parents farm. So I had FFA, a lot of background in horticulture. Did state FFA stuff. And worked at Chantilly and Land Mission, did stuff there with invasive plants when I was raising there, and put in plants that were native to Oregon when I was working for the state of Oregon. So I know last year we had got the paperwork in, and then we got approved, and got the paperwork in for the insurance and everything. My plan for this year is to have that, hopefully get approved, have that paperwork in March. April would be cleanup and fixing some of the boxes. I want to join the National Association of Community Gardens, so we can get some of the resources there and help from that. May would be planning to start some garden, but then June would pumpkin would go in. We want to be able to do the free pumpkin patch for the community and have local food for some of the bistro and other stuff. If we get enough sponsors, like I said, the bistro and some of the other restaurants, if we have it available, I'd like to see if we can just put a drip system, which is not a permanent, it's just when you get it at the store, but it would save water. Last year.
Which would prevent the flooding that we had. last year.
Yeah, and you can also make so nobody can turn it on or off. Like I said, sometimes I go there and people mess with water. So, I didn't get the final count on water last year, so I know after we did that, we were monitoring it better. So if we can do that, which is not very expensive to do the drip systems. Like I said, sometimes that would save water too, and it's more efficient for growing. I have 6 people already that are interested in helping out. And, my goal is by the end of the month, have our first meeting. And like I said, have more stuff for the community and have the pumpkin patch for the community. If we're able to start, obviously in April and June, the middle of June like last year, if we knew that was kind of happen. We still last year didn't be able to do beans, zucchini. We didn't get as many pumpkins as we wanted, but
I'm excited to hear you have 6 volunteers. Right on, so that's huge. I'm a complete supporter in the drip lines. In fact, if you reach out to me, I probably have somebody who can donate to you. I think that's a fantastic way to do it. I do that at my own garden. It saves water tremendously. And I like the idea of being able to lock the water source out, and maybe Public Works can work with us and something like that to prevent, tampering with it as well. My biggest concern also would be the invasive weeds. If you can figure out a plan just to make sure that the garden looks nice and it doesn't look like it's overgrown. And I know last year you had a late start.
yeah.
So I guess
we
my
can do
only
better now. If we have more volunteers, we can do better.
Perfect. And I think with 6 volunteers, it's probably 5 more than we had last year. So,
Yeah.
so please, I would ask you to continue working with the city administration or public works and get a plan put in place, but I don't think you'll have any argument from us as long as we can, A, not see a flooding situation. Because we do want to make sure we're conserving water the best we can, even though it rains all the time here. And the invasive weeds, right? How can we just keep those under control?
Now, we're gonna have to get rid of all those, the old drips, or what do they call them, the black ones?
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, a lot of them
So it's like a little rubber hose.
were, yeah,
It's
they're
not drip.
sprayed and
Yep.
they were using too much water.
Either way, as I said, I can order on Amazon for it. I'm more than happy to donate one for each one of the plots.
Oh,
So,
perfect, thanks.
other than that, I apologize. We should have had you as a regular agenda topic, quite honestly, just had you come in. So we can have it more back and forth. But I think what,
We can do it next month, actually.
yeah, if you want to come in next month and kind of outline your plan that you've worked out. with Public Works,
I can print it up and,
Perfect.
okay. All right, thanks
Any
a lot.
questions real quick on this one? Because I know the community garden contentious back and forth, right? There's those that want to see it and those that just, yeah. So thank you for taking the initiative.
Evening. My name is Senor Lopez, well, Narciso Lopez, but known as the Senor Lopez of the restroom.
I had a tear over when we saw that.
I live in 2229 Third Street, and I have I'm new at this, but I have a few concerns. I hope you allow me to explain them. About the park, and you can grant application for the pets. I think it's a great idea. But because we are concerned about the pets, you know, a lot of people with dogs on that, we respect that. But I also believe that we have more kids than pets that are in danger, especially when they go to the park. Like he mentioned Third Street. I don't know if you live in the city per se, or you have done business in the city, then you will be more, have more knowledge of what's going on the city and then the business side. I live on Third. I walk with my granddaughter every Sunday. The hounds is very, very dangerous because there is no way of walking along the road because the residents on Third Street, they took over to the road. So if a car comes, you have to go into the driveway all the way, or on the other side is flooded. There is no way. I have to stop and set aside until they come, the cars. So that is a concern. I am the only one that has a sidewalk. And I received a letter from the other department. They work with me. So they said that they were gonna hold on to the six-month period to me replace it or fix it. Even though I really appreciate you guys putting a little bit money to help us out. I appreciate that. And I have no problem fixing it. But I didn't see a point me fixing it and then down the road, a year or a year and a half or 6 months, whatever time it takes, to come along with a contractor and do the whole third. I mean, I am sure nobody has an objection of putting a new fence, a new sidewalk. Because it will improve the city looks, you know, it will be more safe for people to walk. All the people who lives in the, I don't know what side of the 99 East, all the mobile homes there.
Yeah.
All those people walk along A Street, which doesn't have a sidewalk either way, either side. And they have to walk in the road to go to Third. They don't go to 5 or 5th Street where they have a sidewalk. They cut in Third Street and you'll see whole families walking, including with their dogs. So I think if we prioritize that region, that will improve the city because it's already a sidewalk from J Street or G Street all the way to A Street, but nothing from there on. Since I lived there for 24 years, believe me, I've seen a lot of stuff. And it's just about time for somebody to run in Ronald. Okay, especially if they build an easement to the park. Once spring comes, youngsters with their parents, they park along the 99E on the park or in the lawn, and they just get across. And it's a dangerous area right there. All I want is just to communicate you that, so you'll be aware of that, which is already being touched. I appreciate that. Okay, secondly, I done business here for 22 years. And I haven't, with all respect, I haven't seen any improvement at all on between A to J Street. You know, and it was a big improvement from D Street all the way to the trailer homes. Great, it looks awesome with all the lighting and all that. But other than that, at first I thought that we were the city town or the downtown. But it seems like it's also the third street where the restaurant and the coffee shop is. Great, I love it. But the whole area needs to be, it needs to be together as a downtown, as a bringing business in. Other people that want to show interest in coming to the city. But I haven't seen no results, with all respect. I know you guys work very hard, but I think we need more driving to it. So we might be a small city, but we are not cheap city. And right now we might look cheap because people just blink and they pass us. And when was it? I think it was Saturday, because I closed my business, I saw them. I went to Woodburn, and so people walking up and down. I came to Harvard. Nothing. So that tells me something. We need to do something. We need to put more effort in. Let's get together. Because I also seen that an issue about generate a little bit more budget. That's here, that's there. I don't mind. Not that I'm rich, but I am not poor either. I live in a great city, and nobody who lives here is a cheap people. I mean, we might not be rich, but we can afford certain things. So let's put our budget into the city to make us look great.
You bet. So I know, Mr. Lopez, that you've gotten to attend some of our visioning sessions, which has been fantastic. I know you had to leave early in the last one, but we had much more discussion, especially on how do we fix from D Street to the J Street on 99. If we were to focus on an area, where can we?
I think sometimes it takes a little bit of us to be more pushy.
Mhm.
You know, we need to be in top of the issue continually and keep pushing, keep pushing. If you don't ask, and if you don't push, you'll be the last. I mean, I went to Canby today. I see a lot of going on. I came to Harvard. Why? That's fine. I like to be quiet. That's why I'm here. I love my city, but I don't want to be cheap either. You know, all the houses that are being built, it's almost $500,000. You know, we're paying good money on tax. So in the city itself is generating a little bit of money. Let's put it in motion. Let's put it in motion. I came from Los Angeles, in a small city, decide one time that, okay, let's do a little bit of loan to the cities to improve their homes, and we're gonna charge them 2% of interest. Man, we love that. We will improve our properties somehow. But of course, it has to be a guideline and how to do it and be reviewed by you. You know, but all that will generate money to the city. Because if they pay, instead of paying to the bank, it's paying to the city. You know, it's just a thought.
So my hope would be, I think we're doing the visioning review in April. Or is it gonna be after April?
So we have our final town hall meeting on March 21st. And then we have council goal setting session, at the April meeting.
Right. So, Mr. Lopez, you know, hopefully you can attend the one on the 21st.
I wouldn't mind. Now I'm free.
Yes.
And I'm not a politician, and I'm not here to buy. You know, I'm just trying to give you the ideas and the idea.
What we're doing the visioning for is exactly what you're talking about. How do we as a city invest limited resources to the biggest factor?
And one other thing, you know, appointed a budget committee members. I respect whoever is in this list. But I think if they're not willing to be here to be interviewed by the residents, I'm sorry, I don't know who they are, and I cannot support somebody that is not taking this serious. You know, I mean, with all respect, I don't know who they are. I might know them by face, but I don't know their names. But these people need to be interviewed by, the residents of the city. So we know where that money, whatever the budget is going, in a way. And secondly, well, I think this is it. But I mean, it's like, I know if you're here, it's because you love the city. Okay? All we need is a vision and if you got $1, put it to work. I remember, now it came up. Now, I remember when, since I'm moved here, there was a fund for the water sewer, for the water, to have money if in case something goes wrong or replace the whole water system, okay? And it was a fund, so we were paying, I don't remember how much. But if that money's being there, sitting there, maybe generating some interest or not, I want to see results. I mean, if I making a payment a little bit higher, I want to see the results, not the same thing for 20 years ago. I want to see the results. I want to send a letter, now this is working thanks to your whatever, or you accept the tax that we were looking for. Because tax is good. Tax is good if you put it to work.
Well, Mr. Lopez, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hope to see you at the March 21st session. If you
I
can make it.
I will try. But like I said, if I come with things like this, it's not against, as a community or the city. No, I'm still proud of the city. I'm proud of the city, police officers, the volunteers on the firefighter. My son went there and served for quite a few years. I'm happy here. I like to see a great city. It can be small, but it can be great.
I agree with you.
Okay, thank
All right, thank you. Okay, any final appearances of interested citizens? If not, we'll move on to mayor and or council presentations. Going around the room, Councilor Rogers, Councilor Thompson, Councilor Simon, Councilor Young.
Actually, I have a few questions here. And a comment and some questions, just kind of following up on some things. I was reviewing the old weekly reports, some things that were put on there was a stage procurement, and I'm just wondering where we were with that, so doing the movies in the park and the cost of the movie, is that reasonable? There was a dollar amount we're looking at, $10 a movie or $50 a movie? Do you remember any of that or what's going on with that?
Yeah, so mayor, councilors, that is something that I'm still working on. So I am looking at, it's a combination stage that folds up and you can use it as a giant screen as well, with the goal that someday we'll have music in the park. And there is a small grant application that I have put out there to see if this is gonna qualify. The stage/screen that I'm looking at is about $750. So there's that piece of it. We also need a projector and a sound system, and I'm still pricing those two things. And I'm also going to reach out to some of our other city partners to see if I can borrow one of theirs and maybe at a small fee or something like that. The thing that's actually really expensive is you can't just show a movie in the park. There's licensing fees associated with it. And I thought, yeah, how much can that cost? So depending on the movie, it can be anywhere between $500 and $1,000 per movie. So that is something that I've been having some conversations with community members to see if they'd be interested in sponsoring something like that. But my goal is to at least have 1 or 2 movies this summer. But again, it just depends on if I can get all the equipment. I found a company that we can use for the movies, but yeah, not for everything else.
Okay, tossing some thoughts around my head. Another thing came to mind, I know we just got the new police chief on board. So Donald was inquiring a while back about, police services.
Right.
Is that still in the works?
Yes, so There are some things that we're looking into, so, the radio coverage in spots, kind of fades out, and so we're looking at what a booster would cost and, where we can put that. We've identified that we can put it on a water tower in Donald. And we're working with, City of Woodburn, actually, because we have to get an FCC license. It's only a couple $100 for one of those, so they're doing some additional research. Working with Donald on a draft IGA and kind of going back and forth there. I don't know if we're gonna be ready, by July 1 to implement services, just because of infrastructure, staffing. We need to kind of change the brand on our vehicles, but it is something that we're still working on.
And then the last thing that has to do with, over here talking about Third and J, between Third and the railroad tracks down there on that corner, we've got, that lease space with, Matt Kinney owns the lot, he's got leased, and there's a whole bunch of vehicles in there. And one of them's been up on a scissors jack for about a month with a fender missing. And are we, and then there's a truck with all the paint peeling off of it, and what, are we moving into is that a junkyard or, and it is not screened properly on the railroad side, so that's a big open, and you can look and see that. So I don't know if we just want to go with a screening, to enforce that, or if we want to actually inquire about, what is it actually being used for properly.
So I have been having multiple conversations with Mr. Kennedy about the property along Third Street and how it's being used at both ends. One of my concerns is that the one car that's jacked up has been there for a little while. I'm actually have some concerns about EPA. And is it leaking any oil into the soil? So it is something that I'm working on with Mr. Kennedy.
I just been driving by it, and it's still there.
Mhm.
That's still there. I mean, screening makes things, look better in the community. You're not looking at that stuff, but I also understand there's a, if it's looking like it's a bunch of broken down cars, you might have, anything from, homeless trying to move in there to theft to, that type of problems might be generated out to that situation, so.
And Mr. Kennedy is in the process of the boats and the trailers that were parked on the north side of the bistro. He has ended those contracts and they are moving those out. So we are getting those cleaned up, and then that will be the next.
Well, I was less concerned about that because at least the vehicles look reasonable and they were parked neatly.
Well, they had other stone signs on them.
I had him take those down immediately because he couldn't count that on there.
Yeah, can't be doing sales off that lot, but without proper licensing. But anyway, so yeah, I was less worried about that than was solid. Anyway, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to city administration report out. We'll start with the police department.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. It's great to be here with you tonight. February was a busy month. Our two officers in the academy are doing quite well. As a matter of fact, Officer Hart is preparing to graduate at the end of this month. So, and prior to him even going to the academy, they worked really hard and completed a good chunk of his training as well as field training. So when he comes back, we'll introduce him back into that process as well. And we hope before long he'll be ready to solo and whatnot. So Officer Sapp is still doing well. He's early into the academy, scoring very well in his quizzes and learning lots. He's very energetic and happy to be here. Sergeant Anderson just got back from some leadership training as well. So we're continuing to train our folks in-house as well internally by sending them to trainings throughout the community and whatnot. Let's see here. Metcom, we had a board meeting with dispatch, and we're anticipating a overall 5.9 increase in the budget and what have you. So there's gonna be a little bit extra added cost from the previous fiscal. Chief Rash and I, while he was here, went over the Lexpol policies, and we provided all the new updates to the manual. based on the state law, federal law, and best practices and what have you. So we also got that policy switched over to my name as well. And we're continuing to push out daily training bulletins for the officers and what have you from Lexipol also. We actually have one officer in the background phase right now for hiring. So that would be to fill our sixth and final position. So we're really excited to report that. And that officer is actually would be coming to us certified. So has multiple years of experience and is choosing to come and pursue their career here at Hubbard Police Department. So I think that's exciting as well. We had a great meet the new chief at La Petite this last month as well. It was a good turnout. It was on a beautiful sunny day. And so that was a lot of fun. And met a lot of great people there at that event. And also just throughout my first month here, been very busy out in the community, getting out meeting as many residents and business owners and stakeholders as I can. And really had a lot of fun doing that as well. And everybody I come into contact with has just been so welcoming, so supportive. They love having their own police department. And I can say that they are so very supportive of the Hubbard Police Department and the officers and staff who serve them every day. So, so yeah, it's just been a great month. So I think that's pretty much it.
Question for you.
Sure.
I was actually surprised to read that Oregon State Police have identified 99E between Salem and Highway 551 as a fatality area, pretty bad. Is that type of information that can be shared, say, with Sean, or sorry, Administrator Wait, before we meet with ODOT? I mean, as an impetus to kind of drive the question that we need to improve 99E?
Yeah, absolutely. All that would, I'm sure, be public information as well. When we received the briefing, it was just from the area commander of the Salem office, a lieutenant there, who just shared that information as well. And
ODOT should be aware.
Oh, I would think so as well. And historically, 99 has had a reputation from years past as well. I think at one point it was considered a safety corridor as well for a number of years. So.
Found that rather interesting and timely to see that information. Any other questions for Chief Parisi before we move on? We'll go to Councilor Rogers.
I have none. Thank you.
Councilor Thompson.
No question.
Councilor Shannon.
No, I just wanted to say it's great having you in town. I was able to go on a ride along with you for a few hours earlier in the month, and it was just a really great time. I love seeing the way you interact with the community, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Councilor Young.
So I was gonna look at the item number 3 here and talk about locks being changed on the evidence warehouse. Do we have a warehouse, or it hasn't moved? Our evidence locker has moved?
The evidence room, I should say. I said warehouse, but it's
so-
kind of the
so it hasn't
general location. No, it hasn't. So.
Crying in the warehouse. Okay, so with that, if there's no additional questions, let's move on to Administrative Department. We'll move on to, well, you know what I skipped over on you? I'm sorry, Mr. Lee, is your topic. I went straight into the.
I'm gonna tag on to the.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and start off with Administrator Wait. My apologies on that one, and then tag right into to Director Noble.
Okay, so I will just highlight a few things out of my monthly report. So like we talked about earlier, we are going to have our final town hall on March 21st. It will be available via Zoom, but we really encourage people to be there in person, as we're going to be prioritizing some of the projects to actually inform a report that will be presented to City Council. The meeting's from 6:30 to 8 p.m. So please show up. We are also going to be hosting 2 caseworkers next Thursday, coming from Congresswoman Salinas, that will be providing kind of guidance, answer questions, benefit options to veterans within our community. So we're gonna do a kind of a trial run, see how that works. They're gonna work on definitely getting information out in our community so that anyone interested in finding out more information about benefits available and answering questions, they know to come here on that day. Additionally, you know, I mentioned briefly the North Marion Business Resource Fairs. We actually ended up having over 100 people turn out to those fairs. And it was a blend of people from Hubbard, Woodburn, and Salem. So pretty excited that we're getting Hubbard businesses involved in that. Then finally, we talked a little bit about the Text My Gov, and we would like people to sign up for that. There is flyers in the packet on how to do that. The staff decided to implement that as a way to provide instant communication to community members that had signed up for this text message response. One thing that we found when the water was cloudy that first time around and we were going door to door, we did the reverse 911. Staff didn't really have any control over the message that was sent out or the phone calls. And actually they called Salem first and let all of Salem know that their water was cloudy, and that created a lot of issues. So we're kind of taking over control. In an emergency situation, yes, we would still use reverse 911. But in other things that are happening within the city, this is a way to communicate out right away. So if we're working on a street, or we have cloudy water, or there's a project going on, and it's two ways. So someone can text a message into us and we can respond to it. It is both in English and in Spanish. If you haven't checked it out, I would encourage you. And I also want to give Melinda from Public Works a lot of kudos for all the work that she has been doing. I don't know if council has heard, but we were notified that in Senate Bill 1530, City of Hubbard received $1.1 million for our wastewater lift and other associated projects. Melinda was a key part in putting together that project ask, and we partnered with Mid-Willamette Valley COG, and they lobbied for us and able to get that money. I'm excited about moving forward into the next regular legislative session. I have a couple meetings coming up with Senator Merkley's office and the governor's office to talk about our wastewater project that was presented last month, and have some conversations about can we get some funding through that. So excited to move forward with that. And also, Melinda got us a grant funding through the Office of Emergency Management for our diesel generator that will be on the trailer. So that's 900 plus gallons that can be accessed in an emergency. So I just wanted to really acknowledge Melinda and all the work that she has done to get funding for these projects. So thank you. And with that. And that's all I have for my report.
Any questions before we move on to Director Noel? We have none, Director Noel.
Just a reminder, we're gonna start at 6:30 on April 9th to do some goal setting. We will be having a planning commission meeting. We have a major variance application. It is Public Works Department. It's for our well house, or is it a well?
Pump house, I think.
Yeah, it's a pump.
Pump house, excuse me, for the pump house for the splash fountain. And also wanted to, was mentioned at the last meeting about the groundbreaking, but the mayor, Councilor Aldrich, me. Me, no, but anyway, it was, they had a great turnout and the weather was.
Didn't rain on us until later in the day.
Yes, it was very good. Also wanted to thank the mayor for scanning in a bunch of old pictures, and
It's cool, aren't they?
yes, those are very cool. And Julie did a little bit more editing, and we've got some on order. So we're wanting to put it in the hallway and then come in here and start, sprucing up the building a little bit with some of these old pictures. So those are on order. We're excited about getting those. I don't have anything else to report unless you have any questions.
Question for Director Noble? Just gonna do a visual scan. Okay, well, let's move on to Public Works.
Thank you, councilors and mayor. I'll go through my report. Gear unit, we're still working through the, purchasing agreements on that. We're still working with the engineer to get, three. I think we're just about there. So hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll have that tank back into operation. Number two, yeah, as you heard, Director Noble, say earlier, we had a little bit of an issue with, finding out that the, Splash Mountain rebuild project has to go in front of the planning commission because the, well building doesn't sit 20 feet from the easement of the road. When we first looked into doing this project, I did take into account the planning commission issues, but because we were dealing with a building that's been there since 1974, I didn't think that there was going to be any issues with problems with setbacks or anything like that, because it's been there a long time. It's been grandfathered in. I spoke to her a week ago Thursday about the process of obtaining permits to Marion County, and at that point she related to me that because we didn't have the 20-foot easement, all buildings need to have 20 feet to a roadway, and then it was discussed, and we have to have 20 feet from the easement of the roadway, and E Street is a 60-foot wide easement. So after doing a little bit of discovery work, that building sits 3 foot from where the easement of the roadway is. It's 12 feet from the actual curb line, but the easement goes in another 9 feet. So that brought up the problem that we have to go in front of the planning commission to get a major variance to be able to build that building. So on the 19th, we go in front of the planning commission. I don't foresee any problems with it, but if for some reason they deny us, then we just put that equipment inside the well house. That option wasn't considered before because there's some problems with having to drill fairly large holes through the brick walls to get the piping in there to service the pumps. So we're working through it, and I still believe that we will have it up and running by Memorial Day weekend. The tree that fallen in the Wolfville Greenway has been cleaned up. We thought that was good of them to go do that. We're working on fire hydrants with the newer employees. It's a slower process than I would hope, but we're getting together whatever tools we need, and we figure that we can be able to do about one of those a month. And we're starting to gear up, get the equipment ready for the mowing season. That's about all I've got. If you've got any questions.
Councilor Rogers, no questions?
Your last count was like a couple months ago was 5 hydrants that were out of service.
Yes.
During the flushing, did we come up with more than
No.
the same 5?
Yep, same 5. Well, it's down to 4 now.
Okay, I'm sure one of those can go into the dog walking park.
Well, we've actually got 3 scrap fire hydrants sitting in the yard, so I'm sure we can figure something out.
Okay. So you're just adding on a little bit to the back of that pump.
The building dimensions are 11 feet from the outside or the east side of that. And it's going to be the full length of the building, which is 16. So we're talking 176 square feet. And well, and because of the location of it, we ran into a little bit of snafu.
Do you really think people would notice? So,
Okay, Councilor Thomas,
I have no questions.
Councilor Steiner,
And-
Councilor Arnold.
No questions this time.
Okay, I'm fine. We can move on. If there's no additional topics then on that area, I'm not sure if, Melinda has anything to report on hers, or is that just FYI?
Yeah, the one thing, thank you, Mayor and Councilor. So the one thing I was gonna mention, I did mention on my report about the discussion with, regarding the freshwater water quality rating program. Mike, Superintendent Krebs is gonna lead that discussion following.
Yep,
the
number 9. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yes. And, on the, I had mentioned about the secondary clarifier and the procurement. I had hoped to have that, further along than it is, but, we're still working with both of those projects with the engineers and getting the RFPs, ready to be, advertised. So,
Any update on Union Pacific, by the way?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of, getting bids to do that project. We've got a fully executed,
So we're good to go.
yeah, we're good to go.
So we can actually have a sidewalk all the way.
I was, that was what I was working on today, and part of tomorrow is, soliciting concrete, contractors that are able to do that job. And one of the problems we're running into with contractors working on railroad property is they have to be railroad property trained.
Makes perfect sense, actually. I can see that. It's gonna be expensive, I'm sure, but I can see that.
so do we need to start on A Street now?
Probably if we want to see it in 20 years.
Right.
Okay, let's keep moving along though, because we're getting late. Let's move on to agenda topic number 9, then discussion regarding freshwater quality trading program.
Okay, this, as you well know, is one of the options that we have on our temperature problem, in the creek. This, presentation is gonna be in 2 actual parts. First part is the MAO, which is mutual agreement in order that we don't have to, but, would benefit us to, engage with DEQ. When you talk about an MAO, what that's basically saying is, we know we've got a problem, DEQ knows we've got a problem. And so we're going to agree to mitigate that problem, through DEQ. So basically, we can't make the temperature grading. We've been testing that water for 15 years and we pass maybe 20% of the time. So what this grants us is DEQ saying, yes, we've got a problem. We get into this discussion with you. We work out a solution, however many years it is. We won't fine you for each violation that you have there. So it saves us in that instance because they won't fine us while we're working through this problem. The second point, part of it is the freshwater trust. Now, the freshwater trust is a 503C corporation that deals with temperature credits. And basically what they say is, okay, we will come out and we will evaluate your system. First off, to find out if this program will work, and if it does, then we'll set up a schedule for basically planting trees along the creek bed. And for each tree we plant, we get a certain amount of credit towards the temperature. So this is not an accurate number, but say we're 4 degrees above where we need to be, and we plant 400 trees that'd take care of that temperature problem that we're having, because what they're saying is the trees put shade into the creek. The shade cools down the creek. The creek's able to absorb more of the energy that we're putting out in our wastewaters. So the 2 things that I'm hoping that the council could take action on, first of all, allow us to go into the MAO with DEQ. One other thing I forgot to tell you about an MAO with DEQ is it tells all the funding agencies that, yes, we are having a problem, so we generally are more, be able to get more grants and stuff like that. To go, if you're having a problem, we'll give you some money to help pay for it. So that's on the plus for us. The other plus is that DEQ will not fine us during this process. for each violation.
So do you need a motion from us to do the MAO, or is that something that needs to be brought back in front of us with like, more formal language? I guess the question goes to city administrator White on that one.
Well, usually we have this MAO for them to review.
That's what I
and
was-
they-
Well, I guess what I'm asking is for the council's permission to
Consensus.
enter into it.
I don't think we can enter it without it in front of us.
So, yeah, so I think what we need is actually a copy of it so that council can look at it, review it, and either one delegate the mayor to sign it or me to sign it.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm asking is okay, council to do the negotiations with DEQ. And then when we get the paperwork, we'll bring it back to you and say, okay, this is what we've got. And then at that point, you approve it.
Well, I think you have general consensus. We're gonna have to do something on this. Instead of using the word problem, I'd say we were just unable to become in compliance
Okay.
at the end of the day. So I guess I would still defer to Administrator Wade on
Yeah.
how we should move forward on this. I guess my direction from council agrees is for Administrator Wade to work with Public Works.
Thanks.
Is that fine by council, by general consensus?
Yeah, I would like to have something to read before approving anything.
Okay, so Mr. Wade, does that work?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mike, does that work?
Yeah.
Superintendent Krebs?
Yeah, that worked for me also.
Thank
The second issue or thing that I'm asking for council is Freshwater Trust needs to do an evaluation on whether or not their program will work for us at all.
Is it a tree planting program?
This is a tree planting program, the energy credits. And that evaluation is at the cost of about $14,000.
Gracious.
And there's no guarantee that that's.
It's just to say, yes, we can do this for you, or no, this problem won't work for you, but we're looking into this because of all the options that we've got. This is the least costly, and if the program works for us, it's got a high rate of success. It's just a matter of you plant X amount of trees per year for X amount of years.
Okay, so
So-
we reach the maximum of, say, 400, we're done. They can come back and say, okay, we want another 4,000.
Well, there's also the issue with as our flow goes up, so does the
The temperature gradient goes up.
yeah, the temperature issue with the creek. More flow you've got, the more energy you're putting out, due to the temperature, of the water that we're discharging. And so, that'll expand, but, that's part of it is let's look at what's gonna happen. And I think they're looking at 20 years in the future.
So Mayor, Council, I actually think that part of this is operational and it should be something that city administrator works with Public Works, and then we come back to council with more information.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think this is another thing that needs to go through Administrator Wade and come back with a recommendation on which way we should go. Quite honestly, I'd be concerned. I mean, I would rather see us planting trees than paying a blank check to the government. But at the end of the day, there's only so many times we can plant 400 trees along the creek bed before we've got quite one heck of a canopy. So I would wait for Administrator Wade to come back with a suggestion on which the best way to go forward.
However, I do appreciate hearing some.
Yes, very much so. I'd rather do, as I said, plant trees along that creek bed at $4,000 for $100 for a tree problem than I would say whatever it would cost to buy some credit that does nothing. Okay, anything else then?
No, that's all I've got for you.
Okay, any questions from council? Okay, then we'll move right along to other, we do not have, I don't see Chief Carmelon, so we'll skip agenda number 10, we'll go on to consent agenda. We have two items, approval of the February 2024 check register report and resolution number 7712024, resolution confirming the city of Hubbard's intent to apply to the local government grant program through the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for monies to be used for Rivenes Park Playground Equipment Upgrade Project.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next one is other city business. I did notice that we do have Mr. Nash online. Mr. Nash, can you hear us? Probably asleep because he's been on there for so long.
Mr. Nash, I just wanted to let you know that you were appointed to the Budget Committee, and if you have any questions, please reach out to our Administrator Wade or myself. I'd be more than happy to chat with you. We did that right before you joined, so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. With that, any other city business?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
God, you jump right
I
in.
second that motion.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. We're nay. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
You're going into the budget committee. If you have any questions, you need to reach out to them.
That was Mr. Nash. Just to answer that question, yes, on the budget committee, if you have any questions, please reach out to, Administrator Wade or Vicky Vogel down at City Hall, or you can reach out to me, the mayor.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting used to this system.
You don't need to apologize, Mr. Nash, but we did appoint you, so if you have questions on that, feel free to reach out. I'd like to chat with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.